So I've been watching the news and hearing about how everybody is thinking that everything is just fine and dandy and everybody just needs to go to work and do what is needed. And I'm here because I want to say that I am working and I'm willing to work, and I have always been a hard worker, but I am a single parent with one income, and unfortunately my income is through daycare and preschool, and I have 3 children. They're 2 13-year-olds and a 9-year-old. I have tried multiple times to increase my kid load since the pandemic came out to be able to successfully make an income for my family. And during that time, kids have gotten sick, and it's not even, for the most part, COVID, but they have had COVID-related problems. And instead of me being able to make money, I lose money for the 2 weeks I have to shut down if even a little bit of stuff happens that's questionable. Last year I was shut down twice. One time I did have a positive case in the house. Nobody else got it. My procedures were spot on, and I felt very proud of myself, but yet I still had to shut down for 2 weeks. And then it happened again, and because the student didn't get tested, I wound up getting shut down. With having 3 children and only one income and limited help, it's very difficult for a single parent to be able to do anything. This year, I am sending my kids to in-person school because, well, it's the most healthiest thing for them mentally. My children have been showing signs of mental distress because they haven't been able to have normal routines and friendships, and all they do is sit in their rooms. Their little bodies are getting weaker because they're not getting the activity they need, which is just going to make them more susceptible to COVID or other illnesses, not just COVID. Anyways, so I thought, yes, I'm going to be able to open up. I'm going to be able to add to my kid load. And that's not the case. The first week, my daughter got a cold because she hasn't been exposed to any kids for the last so long ago. And I kept my child home, and of course they fell like dominoes, and it wound up with them back home again for an entire almost 2 weeks, which was insane. And the schools were not set up for them to be home yet, so they got behind in their schoolwork, and everything got chaotic. And so I wasn't. I have to be able to plan to be able to pick up my children at school. And so I still cannot have a full load because at any point in time, if a child sneezes, they have to come home. I talked to the schools because really, I'm not even entirely sure it was a cold. It was just a runny nose that wound up happening, and there was still fires and all that, but they wanted them to stay home. And they would have sent them home. They would have pulled them out of class in front of their friends, which bothers me because that's mentally distressing to them. But that is for a different conversation. If anybody wants to talk about that, though, I'd be happy to. I just am not sure, as a single parent that has children, how it can be expected for us to be able to work full-time, bring in full-time income, and support our family, and still be able to go to be able to take care of our children who may or may not have to come home at any point in time during the day. My daughter came home from middle school the other day and actually said to me that she was really lucky she didn't have to get in quarantine, and I asked her why. And she said because the kid next, that was a couple of desks down, had a COVID diagnosis, which is scary. I have to admit, but I mean, my child is vaccinated, so it's a little bit better. I know they're breakthrough cases, but okay. And she goes, anyone that's next to that child, that student, has to go into quarantine, whether they have it or not. If they have a positive diagnosis, then they only have to stay out of school for 10 days. If they don't have a positive diagnosis, they have to stay out for 14 days. How can a person make an income and support their family if at any point in time they could be shut down? I watch other people's kids because I have to be able to be there for mine. And also because I have an absolute love of childcare. I love taking care of kids. I love teaching. And yet I feel like I have one hand always tied behind my back right now. And no avenue, no resources, no anything. And I'm not one sit and hold out my hand and ask for help. But I'm nervous and I'm scared. How do I survive knowing that tomorrow I could be shut down for 2 weeks because my kids are in school and they could be sitting next to somebody that has a COVID diagnosis? And that is where I think assistance is absolutely essential, is supporting people who absolutely have no other resources to be able to be supporting themselves. There should be something out there to help people who do not have other resources, especially when it comes to kids. And I know that the child tax credit's out there, and that is super helpful, but it's going to end in December, and it still doesn't pay. It's not even enough to pay my mortgage if I wind up. And I guarantee right now I'm at half capacity, and I cannot get any more kids because I know that I'm going to have to pick up my kids. I know I'm going to be called and asked to come get my child from school. So I'd like to know if I'm the only one out there that's feeling this frustration, and maybe start up a conversation. So if you're feeling frustrated that people out there are belittling the plight that is happening, please let me know, because I would like to have a conversation, because this is something I've never experienced. I would never have imagined experiencing. I'm not one to complain, but I'm just trying to support my family, and I can't. I don't want to be the I'm scared, you know. I mean, I feel like I have to piecemeal the mortgage together, and as soon as I feel like I'm starting to get on my feet, I get knocked out from under me because I have kids that, I don't know. I want to know if anybody else has any thoughts. Well, it's my first and probably maybe my last video, but I thought I would try and see if anybody else out there has any ideas. So thank you for your time. Bye.